All right, so hi everybody. There was a lot of questions up on my socials about like how I make these action figures, so I figured I'd finally put together a video on how I made these. Now, in the past, I have taught this process to students, but again, I find it's pretty obtuse for a class to learn, so it can be kind of complicated. Okay, all right, so first off, stuff you need. One, I use a cutting board. I have an Elmer's glue all, which you could just get at any store, okay? Blue painter's tape. You could also use masking tape. Do not use clear tape. Do not use duct or electrical. Something that is not as thick and more malleable. Sharpie, pencil eraser, X-Acto knife, and then I carry two scissors. This is gonna be weird, but I use a cutlery scissors for any time I need to cut like a heavy ply cardboard, because it will just cut right through that, and then just a normal Fiskars for everything else. Now, in terms of actual stuff we're gonna make it from, I have a small piece of foam core which is used periodically in the build. I have some loose leaf that's ripped out of a notebook, and I have the most important thing, which is poster board, which you can get at like any random store. This is from a previous build. Okay, all right. So on the actual cutting board here, you're looking at the pieces of what will eventually become a 5-point action figure that's about this tall, okay? These pieces, I'm not gonna give the measurements of these, but from the video, if you pause on it, you could parse out the spacing of this. I'm not big on exact measurements. I've never been, so I'm big on asymmetry and things looking a little bit off, because I find that's where most of the charm in the builds come from. So you could parse this out if you want to parse this out. So you're looking at pieces to a torso, a fist, a face, a leg, a foot, a shoulder, and an arm. And then these two pieces over here are subbed in if you want the character to be a little bit more broad-chested and muscular. Okay, for the build that I'm doing, I am going to use these two. So these two are going to go the normal two torsos, which this could make like a more female form because it's thinner, okay, as opposed to these ones, which are going to be thicker, make more of like a superhero posed person. So the figure that we're making is going to look like this. Okay, so basically this is going to be the 5-point figure. Now, when I say 5-point, it means that there's 5 points of movement. So the neck is 0.1, it has a spin. The arms are 0.2 and 3, so they move up and down. And then the legs are 4 and 5. Okay, so the character can move looking like, okay, so kind of like this, move like that. You could see this in the build that I did for My Hero Academia characters I did for Deku and Bakugo. Those are both 5-point figures. Now, this can be increased to something more hardcore, which I'm not going to show in a video, but again, if you're really into this, you can parse this stuff out. So this can be changed into a 12 to 15 point figure with a lot more movement, okay? So then this one, you get a neck swivel, you get dual movement on the arm. So the arm will fan out and it'll also go forward. So there's dual movement on that point. There's elbow movement. There's a wrist pivot. I often do wrist pivots even on 5 points. There's a waist pivot, so it'll spin on the waist. Legs are normal, knee pivot. And then in weird situations, like if I was making like Spider-Man, I might even do a pivot here at the peak of the ab. And I might also do a pivot on the foot, just so you get more of like dynamic poses with the character. So it could go up to be like 15 points, which you could see in, I did a Nathan Drake figure for Uncharted, which has a high point count of movement. But again, I'm not showing this, but you can understand it. If you figure this out, you'll be able to parse that out. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to start out with is the torso. I always start with the torso. So I'm going to take the torso template. I'm going to put it down on my piece of poster board. I'm going to trace. Okay, so I have my trace here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a ruler. Okay, now I'm going to mimic the lines in the template. Now that I got these lines all parsed out, I'm going to want to make sure that on all of these places, I'm pushing with my pencil. Just give it a push, good push, so that if you rub your finger across it, you can kind of feel the pencil line, the groove. This is scoring. This makes it so when we cut this out, it'll make it so it's more malleable to bend on a right angle at those points. Just makes it easier. Okay. All right. So I'm going to cut to having this cut out. All right. So I have the torso cut out here. Now I'm going to fold this on all of these score points going in. Okay. So it looks like this. And then what I'm going to do is this is going to get put together, folded together. So it kind of looks like this. Okay. Now, the way we're going to hold this together is with the tape. Now, here's the thing about the tape. Pretty big on this. I don't usually tape. If the edges are frilled, I don't usually will attach it. I'll often take the Fiskars, the scissors, and I'll cut out like cleaner tape bands, and it's because right angles, they just tend to stick better than frilled edges like these. These edges tend to curl up and then they'll grab other stuff and it just becomes a pain in the butt. So I'm going to just start attaching these to places, and this is going to eventually become this shape. Okay, we're gonna cut to that. You'll see that in a second. All right, so the torso is now together, the bottom part of it anyway, without the upper section. Now we're already going to get into movement of arms. Okay, so basically I have two rectangles cut out of the poster board, and I have a longer rectangle. Just understand something about poster board. Not all poster board is like this, but a lot of it is. Poster board has a bend going in one direction and it has a break going in another, meaning if you go to curl the paper, you're gonna feel that it naturally will curve in one direction, and then in the other direction it'll naturally break. Like you'll see like angle. Okay, you're gonna want to try to find the area that it curves at, and if it's not curving on you, the best course of action you can possibly do is score it, which just basically means, like, if you cut out a rectangle here, if all you do is you just draw in, these don't have to be with a ruler, you just literally draw in lines, this will bend on those score points, and you'll get like more of a curve on those. Okay, all right, so I have to make these two into cylinders, which basically means I'm just gonna roll this. Okay, so this just became this. Okay, now I'm gonna take these long rectangles and I'm going to cut super thin lines out of these, like about this big. Okay, now what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take my Elmer's glue and I'm going to put my Elmer's glue really thin down this entire thing. I'm not going to put it in dots, it's going to cover the whole thing. Okay, and then I'm going to touch it to this, and it's going to get wrapped around the edge. So when this is done, this cylinder will almost kind of look like a paper screw, like it's gonna have like a cap at the end and then thinner at the bottom. Okay, we're gonna cut to that. All right, so I've done the process once. I'm now gonna do it entirely again. So I'm actually gonna double the width of this cylinder on this. Okay, so I now have two of the movement points for the arms done. So again, like I said, they look kind of like paper screws. Now down here, I've already pre-cut out these. Out of the loose leaf, this is very important. You need to cut out 2 thin strips, 2 square strips. Now, I'm gonna take my glue, and just like I did with the poster board on these strips, and this is gonna be a little bit harder because the loose leaf is extremely malleable and movable, but I'm gonna try to cover as much of it as possible with as thin as possible. Again, don't glob, you're gonna wanna touch the tip of the glue right to the paper. Okay, so once I get to here, I'm gonna wrap the outer edge of this with this. Now, the reason why I do this is the loose leaf serves as an adhesive that will seal this. It'll shell it. So that's not gonna unspool, all right? And then what we do with the square is we're gonna take the glue and you're going to cake it on this entire circle section. So you really can't even see it. You're gonna take the square and you're gonna press it like a stamp right to that. Okay, so it looks like this, okay? Then I'm gonna take my scissors and I'm going to cut off the excess until I'm just perfectly at a circle right there. Go around the edge, make sure it's all fused. And again, same reason, you want that glue to seep in to all the layers of the spiral and just fuse it together as one thing, okay? You're gonna wanna do this to both of these, okay? Okay, so before we do anything else with the torso and the movement points, we're gonna move on to the arms. Now, same process. I'm going to put this down on a piece of poster board. I'm gonna trace it. I'm gonna trace the lines. I'm gonna score everything on there, cut it out, fold it together, tape it together. I'm gonna do this twice for both the arms. We're gonna cut to that. Okay, so I have the two arms made. It's gonna just look like this and this. Now, what you're gonna do is you're gonna take the glue, you're gonna put it at the very end of one of the pegs, and you're going to put it like this on the arm, and then you're going to take the tape and you're going to put it over both edges so it attaches kind of like this, okay? We're gonna cut to that. Okay, so my next step is I'm gonna get this piece, the shoulder shield, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna trace, cut out, score, and we're gonna come back to that. And you can see the two arms now, pegs are attached with the tape. Okay, and the point of this is you're gonna want to have these so they slide into the opening and sit flush. But the thing is, this is going to be a little bit too big because I make everything a little bit larger, so if I need to cut back, I can. So I'm going to take my scissors on both of these things. Now, once those are trimmed, these should fit in. Yeah, there you go. 1 and 2. See if it's right into that negative space in the middle. Okay, and we have the arms right there. And again, shoulder shields, cutting to that.